Good morning, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us. We begin in Washington, where Senate Republicans are under the gun this morning as they try to figure out what to do next now that the House has passed a bill boosting stimulus payments for most Americans to $2,000. Now, this is backed by President Trump, but is that enough for Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to try to actually bring the bill to the floor? Bloomberg congressional reporter Eric Wasson joins us now. Eric, it's great to have you on the show. Give us the state of play on Capitol Hill this morning as we await to see what McConnell and the Republican-controlled Senate are going to do next.
Well, I think the first move will actually be for Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader. He's going to try to bring what's called unanimous consent request to the floor to pass this $2,000 checks unanimously. Now, we all expect this to be more of a stunt than to actually pass. We know several senators are on record opposing this, so to get 100% of the Senate behind this would be impossible, but it would give the Democrats a chance to say Republicans have blocked it. Now, then what happens is really a good question. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell will probably address that sometime afternoon when he opens the Senate. President Trump is out on Twitter today really hammering on the Senate Republicans to bring up this bill, but as we saw in the House, only 44 Republicans joined Democrats in voting for the measure, so it may not have much traction, especially as the party begins to try to reestablish its deficit credibility. The bill would cost $464 billion, and members are already positioning themselves to oppose big spending under the Biden administration, and voting for this now could be problematic for them and for their base.
Yeah, I chuckle when you say reestablish their deficit credibility, because deficit isn't a word we've heard from Republicans over the last 4 years, as the Trump administration has spent a lot of money. If the Senate doesn't pass it, what happens? Is it going to fall on Biden's administration to figure it out? And to what extent will Biden actually be able to do something? And how much does that depend on what happens in Georgia?
Yeah, well, the Georgia thing is key. I mean, the runoff race is on January 5th. This stimulus checks issue is playing a big role in there. We just saw Kelly Loeffler, one of the Republican incumbents running for re-election, saying on Fox News she will now vote for this. Just an illustration of the pressure that her Democratic opponent, Raphael Warnock, has put on her. David Perdue, the other candidate, has not yet weighed in. He's particularly a deficit hawk, so it would be hard for him to suddenly switch and be in favor of this. I asked Steny Hoyer, the House Majority Leader, last night after the vote, whether it would come up in a Biden administration if it dies in the Senate. He said it very much depends on what the Biden administration prioritizes. There's expected to be a large stimulus and infrastructure request from Biden early on in the administration, and at that point, we don't know if $2,000 will be in that or if it'll be a different sort of proposal.
That's a really big deal that Loeffler would actually come out for the $2,000 payments. What about her Senate colleagues? Are other senators supporting this?
Well, we saw Marco Rubio come out in favor of it. We have Josh Hawley, the populist from Missouri, who's been banging the drum for $1,200 payments. He's now on board with $2,000 payments. So you need at least 12 Republicans to get the 60 votes necessary. But again, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell does not like to put on bills that don't have the majority of the Senate Republican caucus conference on board. So I don't think we're near that threshold. But again, the president's wild card here, he's banging away on Twitter, on social media, pressuring McConnell. So we'll see if some kind of vote is held just to dispose of the issue. Time is running out, though. The Congress expires on Sunday. A new Congress comes in, and the bill would have to be restarted at that point. Anything that has passed in the House and not passed the Senate would just die.
Eric, I want to go back to Georgia and talk about Senator Perdue here. He hasn't given a position yet on $2,000 payments, but $2,000 stimulus checks. But what's the position that President Trump has put him in by saying, hey, $2,000 is what I want to see, $600 is not enough?
It's a really tough position for Perdue. And my colleague Nancy Cook had a story on the Terminal yesterday talking about how Perdue actually called President Trump on Christmas Day and urged him to sign the stimulus bill. He was dithering over that for several days. It actually allowed nearly $10 billion in unemployment benefits to lapse for workers on Saturday night. And this is costing Perdue. He had touted the bill as a compromise that's very worthy of his Georgia constituents. And hours later, the president came out and called it a disgrace. So some Republicans I talked to say that the president is just so angry with congressional Republicans for not backing his quixotic attempt to overturn the election on January 6th when votes are counted in Congress. He's lashing out and trying to cause trouble for McConnell and others. And we see that on Twitter today. He's just calling Republican leadership disgraceful, both for the failure to pass the stimulus checks and for the veto override of his defense bill, which passed overwhelmingly last night in the House.
Bloomberg's Eric Wasson. Eric, thank you as always for your time today. We really appreciate it.